بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم
Alaikum
الله.
salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Al-Junaid said, if it were possible for you to have nothing at your home but a few pottery utensils, so be it. Al-Junaid said, all paths are closed for God's creatures except for those who follow in the footsteps of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I heard Muhammad bin al-Hussein, may God have mercy on him, say, I heard Mansur bin Abdullah say, I heard Abu Umar al-Anmati say, I heard al-Junaid say, if a righteous man who has spent thousands of years contemplating God would turn away from him for just one moment, his loss would be greater than his gain. I heard Muhammad bin al-Hussein say, I heard Abu Nasr al-Isbahani say, I heard Abu Ali al-Rudbani say, on the authority of Al-Junaid said, in this affair of ours, one must not follow anyone who has not learned by heart the Quran and written down the reports of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because our knowledge is bound by the Holy Book and by the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam's custom. Al-Junaid said, this teaching of ours is bound by the foundations of the sacred book and the custom of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Al-Junaid also said, this knowledge of ours is reinforced by the reports of the Messenger of God sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Muhammad bin al-Hussein, may God have mercy on him, informed me, I heard Abu Hussein bin Faris say, I heard Abu Hussein Ali bin Ibrahim al-Haddad say, I attended a lecture of the judge Abu Abbas bin Suraj. He discoursed on the subject of the roots and the branches of jurisprudence, and I liked that. When he saw that I liked that, he asked, do you know where all this comes from? I answered, only the judge can say this. He said, this came to me due to my keeping the company of Abu al-Qasim al-Junaid. Someone asked al-Junaid, where did you obtain your knowledge from? He answered, through sitting before God for 30 years under that staircase. And he pointed at the staircase of his house. I heard the master, Abu Ali ad-Daqqaq, recount this story. I also heard him say, someone saw a rosary in his al-Junaid's hand and said to him, in spite of your high spiritual rank, you still hold a rosary in your hand. He answered, I will not abandon the way which has brought me to my Lord. I heard the master, Abu Ali ad-Daqqaq, may God have mercy on him, say, every day al-Junaid came to his store, closed its door, and performed 400 prayer prostrations. He then returned to his house. Abu Bakr al-Atawi said, I was with al-Junaid when he died. He read the entire text of the Quran and began to recite it anew from the cow. He reached the 17th verse, then died.
70th.
70th. He reached the 70th verse, then died. May God have mercy on him. Abu Uthman Sa'id bin Ismail al-Hiri. He resided in Nishapur. He originally came from the city of Rai, where he studied with Shah al-Kirmani and Yahya bin Mu'adh al-Razi. He then arrived in Nishapur together with Shah al-Kirmani and came to Abu Hafs al-Haddad. He stayed with him for a while until he completed his studies with him. Abu Hafs gave him his daughter in marriage. He died in the year 298. He lived more than 30 years after Abu Hafs' death. I heard Muhammad bin al-Hussein may God have mercy on him, say, I heard Abu Amir bin Hamdan say, I heard Abu Uthman say, man's faith is not complete until four things have come equal for him in his heart: denial, giving, glory, and humiliation. I heard Muhammad bin al-Hussein, may God have mercy on him, say, I heard Abu Abdurrahman bin Abdullah say, I heard a companion of Abu Uthman say, I heard Abu Uthman say, as a young man I studied with Abu Hafs for a while. Once he drove me away from his assembly and told me not to sit with him any longer. So I stood up and began to withdraw without turning my back on him, so that my face would be facing him. I proceeded in this manner until I disappeared from his sight. Then I made a vow to dig a hole next to his door and not leave it until he ordered me to do so. When he saw that, he brought me close to him and made me one of his foremost companions.
جزاك الله خيرا محمد وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد. بسم الله. بسم الله. بسم الله. Abdullah ibn Sahal ibn Abdullah at-Tustari rahimahullah ta'ala said, unification is this, that you should recognize that the essence of God is endowed with knowledge, that it is not comprehensible nor visible to the eye of the world, but that it exists in the reality of faith, finite, infinite, incomprehensible, non-incarnate, and that he will be seen in the next world outwardly and inwardly in his kingdom and his power, and that mankind are veiled from knowledge of the ultimate nature of his essence, and that their hearts know him but their intellect cannot reach unto him, and that the believers shall behold him with their spiritual eyes without comprehending his infinity. He rahimahullah ta'ala said, there are three modes of theophany: tajalli, theophany of the divine essence, tajalli al-dhat, which is unveiling, mukashafa, theophany of divine decree, tajalli hukm al-dhat, which is life of the world in the world to come. He rahimahullah ta'ala said, God not only creates what is good, he also creates what is evil. Both good and evil are realities of God's decree, not ontological modes of beings. For God lays down what is good through his command, and he sets down what is evil through his interdiction. Man, on his part, has no autonomous, independent capacity of action. He has neither power nor strength to act in accordance with command and interdiction, yet he is bidden by God to conform to both of them, and in fact performs works of obedience in conformity to the divine command, and commits works of disobedience contrary to the divine interdiction. God recompenses his good deeds with eternal reward and keeps eternal punishment in store for his evil deeds. He rahimahullah ta'ala said, the gnosis is not only an act of intuitive perception and mystical knowledge, but also the recognition and confession on the past of man of his fundamental state as a creature before God's sovereignty. He rahimahullah ta'ala said, know that God has a trust in your hearing, your sight, your tongue, your private parts, and in your outward and inward being. He put it before you. If you do not guard it, you are treacherous. But God does not love those who are treacherous. The eye by which you see the truth, the ear by which you hear the truth, or the tongue by which you proclaim the truth, are all the secret of the soul. He rahimahullah ta'ala said, the mystic man in mystical introspection reactualizes this secret as the secret of divine lordship enshrined in his innermost being since the day of the covenant. He rahimahullah ta'ala said, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam's heart, fortified by divine knowledge and saturated with divine love, becomes the wellspring for the illumination of the hearts of men and the treasure mine of God's revelation to mankind. He rahimahullah ta'ala said, the love of every mystic The love of every mystic lover is bound to come from that mind which is the heart of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, for his heart is the mind of the precious substance which is the mystical union of those who experience God's unification. It is the font of the intuitive knowledge of God, of the Gnostics, and the wellspring of the saturation of the hearts of the lovers of God. He rahimahullah ta'ala said the light nature of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, constituted as the luminous reflection of divine light in pre-existence, permeates the total living reality of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, transforming its physical and spiritual nature into a receptacle of the divine radiation of light. Ibrahim Khawas rahimahullah ta'ala said, whoever genuinely trusts in God when dealing with himself will also trust in God when dealing with others. He rahimahullah ta'ala said, when asked by Hallaj, what did you attain during your journeys and crossings of the desert? He answered, I remained in a state of trust in God, curing myself thereby. Mansur retorted, you have annihilated your lifetime in the cultivation of your inner being, but what about the annihilation of the self in the oneness of God? He rahimahullah ta'ala said, during travel, Khidr met me and sought my company, and I was afraid lest my trust in God might be corrupted by my staying with him, so I parted from him. He rahimahullah ta'ala said, I met a youth in the desert as handsome as an ingot of silver, and I asked, where are you going, O lad? He answered, to Mecca. I asked, without provisions or camel or money? He exclaimed, O one weak in certainty, it is the one who can preserve the heavens and the earth, not able to convey me to Mecca without material provision. Ibrahim reports, when I came to Mecca, there he was circumambulating the Kaaba, saying, O my everlasting tearful eye, O my soul dying in grief, do not wish for anyone other than the one majestic and everlasting. I sought a he rahimahullah ta'ala said, I sought a livelihood that will enable me to eat licit food, so I engaged in fishing. One day a fish swam into the net, and I took it out and flung the net back into the water. Another swam into it, and again I tossed the net into the water. Then I waited. Then an invisible caller cried out, could you find no livelihood other than capturing those who remember us and then killing them? So I tore apart the nets and abandoned fishing. He rahimahullah ta'ala said, patience is adherence to the ordinance of the book and the sunnah. He rahimahullah ta'ala said, excess of knowledge does not make one a great scholar. Rather, savant is that who acting on his knowledge adheres to the sunnah, may amount of his may may amount of his knowledge be little. That he rahimahullah ta'ala said, that servant who is claimant of divine knowledge but seeks peace in other than God is entrapped in severe affliction. But when calmly he seeks forgiveness of the Almighty, his affliction is eliminated. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد. بسم الله محمد.
The ninth duty of a student is to purify mind and action with virtues, to gain proximity to God and His angels, and to live in the company of those who live near Him. His aim should not be to gain worldly matters, to acquire riches and properties, to argue with the illiterate, or to show pride and haughtiness. He whose object is to gain nearness of God should seek such learning as helps towards that goal, namely the knowledge of the hereafter and the learnings which are auxiliary to it. God said, God will raise herewith in rank who are believers and to whom knowledge have been given. God said, they have got stages, some lower, some higher. The highest rank is that of the prophets, then of the friends of God, and then of the learned who are firm in knowledge, and then of the pious who follow them. The 10th duty of a student is that he should keep attention to the primary object of knowledge. It is not in your power to enjoy bliss of this world and that of the next world together. This world is a temporary abode. Body is a conveyance, and the actions run towards the goal. The goal is God and nothing else. All bliss and happiness lies in Him. So give more importance to the sciences which take you to that ultimate goal. There are three kinds of learnings. One kind of learning is like the purchase of commodities in journey. They are the sciences of medicine, law, fiqh, and all other sciences which keep connection with the welfare of the people in the world. Two, another class of learning is like the science of traveling in the desert and surmounting obstacles. They purify the mind from evil traits and take it to a high place that does not fall to the lot of any except to those whom God shows favor. 3. The third kind of knowledge is like the knowledge of pilgrimage and its rules and regulations. This is the science of knowledge of God, His attributes, and the knowledge of His actions of the actions of angels. This is the knowledge which cannot be gained except by the agnostics who are close to Him. Those who are lower in rank
But
than
by the Gnostics, not agnostics. It's wrong there.
This is the knowledge which cannot be gained except by the Gnostics who are close to Him. Those who are lower in rank than them will also get salvation. God says, "As for one who is of those nearest to Him, there is happiness, bounty, and garden of bliss for him. But as for one who is the companions of the right hand, there is peace for him. There is certain truth which they perceived through contemplations. This is more clear than seeing with eyes. They are confirmed in their faith after seeing for themselves. Others are like those who have got faith but without contemplation and without seeing with their own eyes. By the soul, I don't mean heart made up of flesh, but it is a subtle sir or secret essence which the bodily senses fail to perceive. It is a spiritual substance from God and has been described sometimes by nafs, sometimes by qalb. The material heart is the vehicle for the spiritual essence to remove the veil from it, as it belongs to the science of revelation, a science which is withheld from men, and there is no permission to discuss it. What is permissible is the discussion that it is a precious jewel and belongs to the world of spirit and not to the world of matter. God says, they ask you about the soul. Say, soul proceeds from the command of my Lord. The connection of soul with God is nobler than that of all the bodily limbs. To God belong the creation, and the command is the most precious thing which can carry the trust of God. It is nobler than the heaven and the earth and what they contain, as the latter refused to bear the trust out of fear of the spiritual world. It has come from God and it will return to God. It is the spiritual substance which drives towards God.
جزاك الله خيرا
وإليكم.
محمد وصلى
وصلى
الله
الله
على
على
سيدنا
سيدنا
محمد.
محمد.